All right, you want to drive in the UK? Good for you. It's a right laugh, it is. Driving in the UK can be an adventure full of unique experiences and charming quirks. But before you put the pedal to the metal, there are a few things you need to know. It's not just about hopping in and driving off. Driving in Britain is a bit different from other places, especially if you're used to driving on the right-hand side of the road. The left-hand driving can be a bit of a shock at first. Don't worry though, it's not rocket science. With a bit of practice, you'll be navigating like a local in no time. Just a few quirks to get used to. For instance, our roads can be quite narrow and winding, especially in the countryside. First off, remember we drive on the left side of the road. Seems obvious, but you'd be surprised how many forget. It's crucial to always stay on the left, especially at intersections and roundabouts. And yes, that means the steering wheel's on the right side of the car. This can feel a bit odd if you're used to left-hand drive vehicles. It'll feel weird at first, but you'll get the hang of it. Just take your time and don't rush. Our roads can be a bit bonkers narrow, winding, and full of surprises. You might find yourself navigating through picturesque villages and scenic countryside lanes, but that's part of the charm, isn't it? The beautiful landscapes and quaint villages make it all worthwhile. Just take it slow and steady at first and you'll be fine. There's no rush, and it's better to be safe than sorry. Most importantly, remember to be polite. Brits appreciate good road manners. A friendly wave or a courteous gesture can go a long way. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of what you need to know before you hit the road in the UK. From road signs to speed limits, there's a lot to cover. Buckle up! It's going to be a bumpy ride, but with a bit of preparation and a positive attitude, you'll be driving like a pro in no time. Right, let's get this straight. In the UK, we drive on the left. This is one of the most fundamental differences you'll notice if you're used to driving in countries where you drive on the right. It might seem daunting at first, but with a bit of practice, it becomes second nature. This means the steering wheel is on the right side of the car. This setup might feel unusual if you're accustomed to left-hand drive vehicles, but it's designed to give you the best view of the road ahead and make overtaking safer. I know, it feels weird at first. It's like trying to pat your head and rub your belly at the same time. Your brain needs to rewire itself to adapt to this new configuration, and that can take a bit of time, but trust me, you'll get used to it. With each passing day, your confidence will grow, and soon enough, you won't even think twice about it. The biggest challenge is remembering which side of the road to be on, especially when you're pulling out of a junction or turning onto a new road. Remember, keep left. This is crucial, particularly at intersections where the natural instinct might be to veer right. Look twice before you pull out and always indicate your intentions clearly. Signaling is not just a courtesy, it's a necessity for safe driving. It's also crucial to adjust your spatial awareness. You'll need to be more conscious of the car's position on the road, especially when navigating tight spaces or overtaking. You'll be sitting closer to the center line, so be mindful of oncoming traffic. This proximity can be unnerving at first, but it also gives you a better perspective of the road ahead. And when you're overtaking, make sure you've got plenty of space. Always check your mirrors and blind spots before making a move. Don't worry, it's not all bad. Driving on the left can actually be quite enjoyable, especially when you're cruising through the beautiful UK countryside. Driving on the left has its advantages. For one thing, you'll be closer to the pavement when you park, which is handy for loading and unloading. No more dodging traffic to get to your car. And when you're driving through those narrow country lanes, you'll be grateful for every inch of space. The left-hand driving position can make these tight spots a bit easier to manage. Roundabouts, the circular intersections that can either be a driver's best friend or their worst nightmare, the bane of many a learner driver's existence. The thought of merging into a continuous flow of traffic can be intimidating, but fear not, they're not as scary as they seem. With a bit of practice, you'll find that roundabouts are actually quite manageable. In fact, once you get the hang of them, you'll wonder how you ever lived without them. They can make your driving experience smoother and more efficient. The key to navigating roundabouts is to remember one simple rule: give way to traffic already on the roundabout. This ensures a smooth flow of vehicles. That means if there's a car coming from your right, let them go first. Simple. Right, this basic rule helps prevent accidents and keeps traffic moving. Of course, it's not always that straightforward. Some roundabouts can be quite complex with multiple lanes and exits. You also need to know which lane to be in depending on where you're going. This can vary from one roundabout to another. The general rule is to take the left lane if you're taking the first or second exit. This helps you stay in the correct lane and avoid confusion. If you're going further round, use the right lane. This is crucial for ensuring you don't cut across other vehicles, and don't forget to indicate. Signaling your intentions is key to safe and efficient roundabout navigation. Indicate left when you're exiting the roundabout and right if you're going right. This helps other drivers understand your movements. Roundabouts can be a bit daunting at first, but they're actually a very efficient way of managing traffic flow. They reduce the likelihood of accidents and keep traffic moving. Just remember the rules, stay alert, and you'll be fine. With time, you'll navigate them with ease and confidence. Now, let's talk speed limits. In the UK, we measure speed in miles per hour, not kilometers, and we take our speed limits seriously. The national speed limit on single carriageways is 60 mph for cars and motorcycles. On dual carriageways, it's 70 mph. But be warned, these limits can change depending on the road conditions and the type of vehicle you're driving. You'll see speed limit signs everywhere, so keep your eyes peeled. They're usually round with a white background and a black number in the middle. You might also see signs for minimum speed limits, especially on motorways, and don't even think about speeding through residential areas. The limit is usually 20 mph, and the locals will have no qualms about letting you know if you're going too fast. Remember, speed limits are there for a reason, to keep everyone safe, so stick to them, and you'll avoid getting points on your license or a hefty fine. One of the keys to safe driving is understanding the language of the road traffic signs. Luckily, most UK road signs are pretty straightforward. They use a combination of shapes, colours and symbols to get the message across. You've got your circles, which are usually orders like speed limits. Triangles are warnings like sharp bends or slippery roads. And rectangles are for information like directions or parking restrictions. Some signs you'll see everywhere are the give way triangle, which is an inverted triangle with a red border, and the stop octagon, a red octagon with a white stop. Learn these and you're halfway there. Of course, there are loads more, but you'll pick them up as you go along. Just remember to pay attention, and if you're ever unsure, it's always best to err on the side of caution. Section 6. On the move, overtaking procedures. Overtaking. It's one of the most dangerous maneuvers you can do on the road, but sometimes it's necessary. Just remember, in the UK, we overtake on the right. That's right, the right. Before you even think about overtaking, make sure it's safe. Check your mirrors, blind spots, and make sure the road ahead is clear. Use your indicators to let other drivers know what you're doing. And don't even think about overtaking on a solid white line. That's a big no-no. Once you're sure it's safe, pull out decisively and accelerate past the vehicle you're overtaking. Don't hang about in their blind spot. Once you're safely past, move back into the left lane, giving the other vehicle plenty of space. Remember, overtaking is a judgment call. If you're not 100% sure it's safe, don't do it. It's better to be safe than sorry. Section 7. Are you licensed to drive? Requirements for the road. Before you can even think about getting behind the wheel in the UK, you need to make sure you're legally allowed to drive. If you're a UK resident, you'll need a full UK driving license. You can start learning to drive at 17, but you can't drive on your own until you're 18. If you're visiting from another country, you might be able to drive using your foreign driving license, but check the rules beforehand. You might need an international driving permit, or IDP, as well. Remember, driving without a valid license is a serious offence. So make sure you've got all your paperwork in order before you hit the road. Section 8, protecting your ride car, insurance essentials. Right, so you've got your license, you're familiar with the rules of the road, and you're ready to roll, but hold your horses. Before you put the key in the ignition, make sure you've got valid car insurance. In the UK, it's illegal to drive without at least third-party insurance. This covers damage or injury you might cause to another person, their vehicle, or their property. Of course, you can get more comprehensive cover that protects your own vehicle as well. There are loads of different insurance options available, so shop around and find one that suits your needs and budget. Remember, having car insurance isn't just a legal requirement, it's also common sense. Accidents happen, and you don't want to be left out of pocket if you're involved in one. Section 9. in case of emergency. Be prepared. Nobody wants to think about being in an accident or having a breakdown, but it's important to be prepared just in case. Make sure you know what to do in an emergency. If you're involved in an accident, the first thing you should do is check for injuries. If anyone is hurt, call 999, the UK's emergency number, immediately. Even if no one is injured, it's important to stop and exchange details with any other parties involved. This includes your name, address, and insurance information. If your car breaks down, try to pull over to a safe location away from the flow of traffic. Put on your hazard lights, and if it's safe to do so, place a warning triangle behind your vehicle. Then call your breakdown service for assistance. Remember, staying calm and knowing what to do in an emergency can make all the difference.